All right. Well, I made this video for anyone that is going through a spiritual awakening. And I don't really like to say spiritual, that kind of boxes you in. In my early stages of kind of awakening, a big thing would be uh, saying something like, "I'm not religious, I'm spiritual." And along this road, this path, it's it's not spiritual. It's consciousness. That's what awakening means. Is you are seeking truth. Christ consciousness. You're in a path of enlightenment. And it really wasn't until about 6 months ago, talking to a group, and I actually looked up what enlightenment, is. And I realized at that point that that's what my life has been on this path for the last 10 years, before I even knew it, of self-realizing, transcending from this non-duality called Earth, this 3D. Everything has its opposites here. And so that's what awakening means, is when you start to question everything. You start questioning your reality, you start questioning your beliefs, you start questioning the institutions, all of it. And you start to really start focusing on the important questions of life. Who am I? What am I doing? Can I create? You start questioning your beliefs. I think that over the years, I've probably let go of probably 95% of my beliefs, because they weren't true, and they weren't mine. And on this journey of awakening, you start to realize that all these constructs, these ideas, these beliefs were passed down from generation to generation, from your parents to religion, from society, from government, from all of it. And all of a sudden you start to really question those. And that's what enlightenment means. You start to see yourself in a different light. And if you believe, I believe that we're spiritual beings incarnated in these physical bodies to remember our divinity, to remember who we are as a soul or spirit. And that is the name of the game, that we're supposed to remember. And God consciousness has put all these, they gave us a physical body with our five senses and an ego to make the game difficult. And it's designed that way. It has to. We have to naturally remember who we are in this physical world in 3D. Because you got to remember, in consciousness, heaven, la la land, whatever you want to believe that where you came from, there's this oneness. There's no sin. There's no suffering. There's no death. There's no nothing. We're immortal. Immortal. Did I say it right? And speaking of immortal, we as humans, we understand the concept of infinity, immortality, but nothing in our in this consciousness, this reality, nothing lasts forever. The sun will die, the earth will die, we will die, everything dies. And so it's the concept, we don't really understand it. And it's the same thing with spirit and soul. You can read about it, but do you have a relationship with your spirit, with your soul? And most people don't. And that's something that when you start to awaken, when you start to see yourself as that, and start pondering about these things, you're going to have to come to terms with that we have a soul, and we want to not just get the concept of it, but we want to embody that and remember who we are in physical form here. And that's what we need to do. And that's, call it consciousness, Christ consciousness, but it's really, at the end of the game, at the end of the day, it's truth and love. And on the flip side to that, it's deceit and it's fear. And that's what this world right now is experiencing, a lot of fear, a lot of doubt, a lot of shame, a lot of these lower levels of consciousness that's keeping people down. And we really want to transcend that. Me, and what I want to teach my children is to live without fear, because that's the ultimate. Once you're not afraid of death, and it's not just a thought. I used to, even a few years ago, I would tell people that, in conversations, I'm like, I'm not afraid of death, and that was such bullshit. I think everybody, like, until you've transcended that, until you're like enlightened, you fear death. And that's what I think enlightenment means, is like you're so close to consciousness, you understand in your soul, like in your cells, in your DNA, you understand that you are immortal, that your soul will last forever. Okay? And so that is that is my explanation of awakening. You start questioning, you start to realize, and then you start taking personal responsibility of your life. At the beginning stages, always, it's about transcending trauma, addictions, those kind of things. Because those, like, there's so many people in victim mode, in victim mentality. And that's one of the lowest, like, vibrations you can be. Because that's not, you're not taking ownership of your life. And when you start questioning, when you start to awaken, that will be brought to your attention of, okay, what do I need to do? And a lot of our addictions, and it doesn't mean, it could be anything. It doesn't matter. It's not hard drugs. It's your eating. It's your pornography. It's your gambling. It's your screen time. All that kind of stuff. They're just there. We're masking away, like we're masking away something that's void in our lives that we haven't dealt with. And most of that comes from some kind of trauma. And for me, it's just like addiction. It doesn't matter what it is. Trauma is trauma. Addiction is addiction. It's, really, it's robbing you from the time that you have on earth to transcend, to become the best version of yourself. And I think that is, there is an awakening on the planet. People are waking up on a massive level in the last 4 years. And that's kind of why I'm creating this YouTube channel, to help people process that, because it's not all rainbows and unicorns. I used to think that if I got to a certain place, if I just get to this level, then all my problems are going away. And there's not going to be any more suffering. I'm going to have money flowing in. I'm going to be manifesting. It's just not true. You're still human. You still have to learn. Like I said, until we die, we're learning how we're integrating the mind, body, spirit. So we operate, instead of just the mind, we're operating from the soul as the three, the mind, body, spirit. And let's see. So yeah, I'm creating this to help people just like yourself go through this. I've learned a lot in the last 10 years. I've come a long way. I struggled with trauma and 20 years of addiction. And on my path, I met a stranger in Spain that taught me this amazing breathwork technique. And I'm going to be sharing that with you, like my story and the breathwork technique in the next video. So I don't make this too large. But we use breathwork to calm the mind and to calm down the nervous system. And because if we don't, then our emotions and our thoughts will, like, pretty much we'll just be blindly doing things without even bringing awareness to it. So we really have to work on ourselves and our bodies and our minds. And breathwork and meditation is, I think, a prerequisite to move forward. Because if you don't take the time to work on your body and get to a state of calm, you really can't do the work like that you need to do. And so I'm going to be sharing you that. I love doing it. I make music for it. I will guide you through it. That's a big one. Ice baths, another huge tool, psychedelics, all sorts of different things that I've used to help myself and hundreds of other people. And it doesn't have to take forever. There's, like, with healing and addiction, it doesn't have to take years. It literally, it can take months if you do the right the right things, if you build discipline and you start acting like this new version of yourself. And I want to help guide you with all that. So I'm super excited to do this. It's taken me many, many years to get the courage to do this. And for some reason, it's time. It's time for me to speak my truth and to help as many people that I can do with what I've learned in my life, in my process, and as a human being, as a parent, as husband, all of it. So thanks, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace